And we're live. Attention, attention, calling all looters. This is the assignment. Hello, looters. Welcome to the Movie Loot Live. My name is Carlo, and I'll be leading the assignment. The episode where me and a guest will choose the set of categories of what to watch during the months of, let's say, July and August, because we're towards the end of July. So obviously we're not gonna say it's the July loot, but that will be our loot. And for that, I'm joined by a Twitter friend and fellow podcaster directly from Crooked Table Productions, Robert Yaniz. How you doing, Robert?
I'm doing great, Carlo. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here on the show. Like I said, you are part of Crooked Table Productions. Why don't you tell us what this is about?
Yeah, so Crooked Table Productions is the world of film from a fresh angle, and I have two podcasts currently. That is Close Watch with Robert Yaniz Jr., where we get to know our guests through the movies they love. Lately, we've been doing movie musicals as of late. I just had upcoming episode on Tick Tick Boom from director Lin-Manuel Miranda,
Yeah,
and my other
Puerto
show.
Rico
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Um,
represent.
Great movie. Huge Lin-Manuel Miranda fan too. I have a you can't see, but it's like right off camera, Hamilton poster from when my wife and I saw it
Oh,
on Broadway a few years ago, and we've covered Hamilton. We've covered In the Heights. So it's we're going all in on Lin-Manuel. But the other podcast is Franchise Detours, and so there we believe no movie series travels in a straight line. So we cover movie series. Usually, there's some standalone episodes here and there, but for the most part, we cover a movie franchise, one film at a time. So one episode per film. As of this recording, we are we just ended the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and we're about to start the Deadpool trilogy with the forthcoming release of Deadpool and Wolverine. So it's been a lot of fun. It's usually me and a guest doing that. We also now just recently launched the Crooked Table Patreon, where people can check that out for bonus content every week. That's patreon.com/crooked table. You can find the shows wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, all that good stuff. And I'm on social media at Crooked Table for all the details. But we have to get you after we do this. You and I need to talk about getting you
oh,
on one of these shows.
nice. No, I was actually listening to a couple of your episodes, especially the ones in Nightmare on Elm Street, and I had a lot of fun with those.
Yeah.
That's a franchise that I'm trying to cover. We're trying to get together a couple of podcasters to cover towards the end of the year for the, I think it's the 40th anniversary of the franchise.
It is. It
Uh,
is
uh,
40th anniversary.
so it's really fun to listen to other podcasters talk about it. So you have Close Watch, you have Franchise Detours, but you also have a side podcast with our mutual friend Darren Lundberg, Back to Bluey, right?
Absolutely. So we've been doing that. It's funny because I always tell the story now with friends that like you can't joke about something with me because because I might run with it. So Darren and I have known each other for a few years. We've been on each other's podcasts. So we were talking I think some one time on Twitter randomly he was like, "Oh, I posted something about Bluey or he did and commented and he was like, "Oh, we should totally, let's start a Bluey podcast." Ha ha ha, joke, joke, wink, wink. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. When are we doing this Bluey podcast? So it was like a year of back and forth, us talking about other things and just being, because we obviously travel in mutual circles, a lot of mutual friends, podcasters, and the like. And we just kept bringing the show up. And then little by little, it just sort of brainstormed. It's like it fought its way into existence. So we're about like 15, 16 episodes in, I think, as of now. So that's really fun. And we dig into usually an episode of the show per conversation. And he and I alternate who picks the episodes and we dig into what the episode has to say, what we can learn from it, how we relate to it as parents, as husbands. And it's been really fun to sort of dissect the show that is ostensibly for kids, but it's really taken on like become a whole phenomenon, even with adult viewers. So we often dig into a 7-minute episode for like 20 to 30 minutes. Just really like it's amazing
Yeah,
the conversations that you find yourself having based on something as seemingly innocuous as a children's animated series. It's a good springboard for a lot of great conversations. And people can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We have Back to Bluey accounts there, and obviously everywhere you listen to podcasts, everywhere the movie Loot is and Crooked Table production stuff are. That's where Back to Bluey is. So yeah, definitely check us out.
definitely. And I'm gonna include all the links to all
Perfect.
social media and all the podcasts in the episode description. So don't worry about that. But it's I agree. It's a very very rich show. Even though it's aimed towards children, it's very very different and very rich. I'm a Bluey fan, so I have two
Perfect.
kids myself, and they're fans. So I'm also enjoying listening to how you dive into these episodes.
Yeah. Thanks,
Um,
Carl. I appreciate that.
and we're definitely going to talk a lot about these shows when we get together to talk about our loot. But gun to your head, favorite Bluey character,
Well, if we're saying of the main four, I I relate most to
whatever.
Bandit, but I find myself empathizing with Bingo a lot. Like just Bingo as the younger child. I'm an older child, so maybe that's I'm putting my brother is 8 years younger than me. So I think maybe I'm like putting him in Bingo's shoes, or now I have two little ones. I have my daughter is 7 and my son is almost 3. So maybe I'm putting him in Bingo's position of being the younger sibling in the household.
Yeah.
So I'm tempted to say Bingo, but I also of the supporting characters, my wife reacts a little bit differently, but I really love Muffin. I know Muffin's a fan
Oh,
favorite.
yeah. You know, a funny thing is that the show is called Bluey, and Bluey is quote unquote the lead character.
Yeah,
Um, but my two kids, for I don't know what reason, they always say, "Oh, but just can we see? Can we watch Bingo and Bluey?
yeah,
We want to watch Bingo and Bluey." They never say Bluey. They always say the show is called for them. As far as they concerned, the show is called Bingo and Bluey.
might as well
Uh,
be. Yeah,
yeah, because Bingo is as much of a central character as Bluey. So yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, I definitely enjoy that. But like I said, we're gonna talk about all those shows and all you're doing, and when we get together to discuss our loot. So basically, what we'll be doing today is receiving the assignment of what will be our loot. That's choosing the categories of what we'll watch. We're almost towards the middle of July, so like I said, we're obviously gonna spill a bit into August. But once we finish today, we will have with both. We'll have our assignment, our mission of what to watch during the month. Robert, how open are you to watching the different types of films? Is you already saw the category, so is this too out of your wheelhouse?
No, no. To the contrary, actually, I actually think it's a good opportunity to you make time to watch something that I haven't seen to step outside of the wheelhouse. Like I've been Carlo, I've spent the last couple of months watching so much Freddy Krueger that it's just like at a point Freddy Krueger, it's like Freddy Krueger, Bluey, musicals. It's like a break from the assignments that I give myself on my shows, I guess. I'm looking forward to stepping outside of things and expanding my horizons a little bit.
Yeah, you like I said, you already seen the categories. Is there one in particular that you're like, no way, I don't want that to come up? Just to give people an idea while you think on the answer, these are some of the categories that we have uh, to choose. We have a film with America in its title. We have a film featuring a Sioux prominently, a film featuring a character with amnesia, a film from Venezuela, a film from Vitoria da Sica, a film about sharks, and so on and so forth. Which one scares you the most?
I don't know if it scares me. I feel like there's not a lot of great movies about sharks. I will say that. I feel
There are
like
two.
there's Jaws, there's like some fun ones like Deep Blue Sea, and then
That's it.
yeah, and then you step out,
There's a
then it's like
precipice then.
Sharknadoes, and it's like that level of cinema, air quotes
Yeah.
cinema. at that
Yeah,
point. So that's when I was like, not a lot to deal with there. So maybe not that.
there are a lot of shark movies, but not
Yes.
a lot because those silent films and whatever they call those mockbusters, they're all this shark, ghost shark, cemetery shark,
Yeah.
sand shark,
Sharktopus, I
what,
think is one or
not
something.
sharktopus, nuclear shark,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
snow sharks. So there are a lot, but not a lot of good ones apparently. Okay, so are you ready for this?
Absolutely. Let's get it done.
Okay, so give me just a couple of minutes while I share my screen for a bit so everybody can see. Let me just change this here. And we're live. Uh, this. Okay, let me know if you can see it.
Yep. Yeah, there we are.
Okay, yes, there we are. So this is our movie loot category chooser tool. And what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to choose one category, two categories each, and then we'll have one that will be selected by our randomizer. Robert, you're the guest, so let me know what will be your first category.
So lot of good categories here. Lots to choose from. I do love the theming that was involved. Everything is corresponding to, a filmmaker's birthday or an obscure holiday happening in July. But just to go basic with it, I really liked that you had a film with the number 7 in its title. I thought
Ooh,
that leads to a lot. I'm gonna assume we're excluding sequels. I wouldn't select the
yes.
sequel anyway, because
No, no.
otherwise, well, like Furious 7. I mean, there's like lots of
Friday,
Friday the
but
13th Part
Nightmare
7.
it's seven. Is
Yeah,
there a seven? Oh,
exactly.
that's crazy. New Nightmare is the
Your new
seventh one.
neighbor. Yeah. But I think a film with the number 7, there's actually surprisingly a lot of options. Like that's a rich number. There's a lot of movies with that number in the title. So I think that there's some fun wiggle room in there.
Okay, do you have any a specific one in mind?
I've actually never seen Seven Samurai, so I feel like
Oh,
I might have to go with that one. We'll
that's a
see.
good one. That's
Yeah.
definitely a good one. A lot of people say it's one of the it's Kurosawa's best.
Yes,
Um,
that's what I'm saying, Carlo. When would I have pushed all my other stuff aside to make time to watch that finally?
have you seen any Kurosawa?
I haven't. No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
It's
no,
a big blind spot for me. So it's like if you're gonna start anywhere, that's the place to start with.
I think it's the one of the best, probably the
Yeah.
best starting point for him.
Yeah.
I've seen only five or six from him, but I
Nice.
pretty love everything that I've seen from him. It's a great filmmaker.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our first category. Let me see what I choose for mine. I have a couple in mind, and I think I'm gonna go easy on the first one as well. And maybe this will suit. Are you still? I will show my hand, but are you still covering musicals?
I am covering musicals on
Okay.
Close Watch. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we have that category in it. I'm on a film forum. I spend some online time on a film forum, and we're preparing for a like a musical countdown, a big musical countdown where everybody like votes for their favorite musicals, and we make
Nice.
like a list, a big list. So I will take this opportunity to catch up on some of the ones I haven't seen.
Perfect.
Uh, I love musicals, so yeah,
Yeah, I do too.
I might rewatch one or check out, like I said, one that I haven't seen. So
Yeah,
yeah, we have.
it's I used to think that I only liked some musicals until I started seeing things like the Mean Girls music from this year where everybody's like, it was terrible. And I'm like, I don't know, it was all right. Some of the music was fun. Like I realize I think I'm just a musical fan in general.
Do
You
you have a
cross the
favorite
bird.
one?
Um One of the ones that we covered that I really love, that I grew up with, is Little Shop of Horrors.
Ah,
That's I saw that as a small child, and I probably shouldn't have. And I remember being a little kid and my parents like covering my eyes or making me leave the room for there's that one scene, spoilers for Little Shop of Horrors, where Seymour is like feeding the dentist
yeah,
to the plant like the body parts out of the bag, out of like a trash bag. And so they made me leave for that part, but all of the rest of it was fine apparently. But yeah, no, I love that. That's
Yeah,
definitely a big one for me.
yeah. That I really love it. That's one that I saw a bunch of times when I was a kid,
Yeah.
but for some weird reason, I didn't watch it like in 20, 25, 30 years,
Yeah,
something.
wow.
Even though I kept listening to the soundtrack, I used to have the soundtrack like on a regular. I listened to it often, and I rewatched it like last year, I think. And I thought, why haven't I been watching this film
Right?
like every week? I mean, this film
And
is great.
and the fact that Audrey 2 is a practical effect, like this was pre CG and everything, incredible. Like
That's one of the
they would
things that
never be able to do that now like that with
nah,
CG. You wouldn't be able to replicate it.
but that's one of the things that really got me into the film because back in the day when I first watched it when I was a kid, I was like maybe 8, 9, 10. My brother was a fan of Fangoria magazines,
Mhm.
and he had one where they went into like the whole design of Audrey 2, like all
Oh,
the
so cool.
mechanics and all the stuff. And I kept reading like all that stuff, and I have to watch this. So when I watched it, I was kind of hooked to that aspect to see how they made it grow, made it move, and all that. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we have our first two categories. If I'm, I don't know if it's the one that I'm gonna watch, but one that I always mention is one of my favorites is Once
Oh
from
yeah, yeah.
who is
John
this Irish guy?
Carney. John
Yeah, John
Carney?
Carney.
Yeah.
John Carney. Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that musical. It's great, and it's another soundtrack that is frequently on my rotation.
Yeah. I like Begin Again that he did, and then obviously Sing Street as film Twitter will every once in a while sing the praises of Sing Street, and I'm like, yeah, I was there. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard great things about it, but I haven't seen
there's
it yet.
that's a contender too. I would suggest.
Okay, okay, got it. Okay, so what will be your second category?
So I had a few contenders for this. Um, I am always looking to fill those blind spots. I really like the openness of well, I'm tempted to go with a film widely considered as confusing because it's like, well, what is that? That's a lot of space there to interpret confusing a certain way. But I feel like I might go a film by Abel Ferreira.
Oh,
And
that's a blind spot for me. I don't think I've seen
yeah,
any of his films.
same.
There you go. One that always gets mentioned is Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel. I've seen the quote unquote sequel, which is not actually a sequel with Nicolas Cage,
Right.
which is a great one, but I don't think I've seen any of his films.
Yeah, same.
Oh no, I'm just checking it. I went on Letterboxd quickly, and I saw King of New York with Christopher Walken a couple of years ago. I think that's the only one I've seen, which is it's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
If anything, Christopher Walken uh, dives into the role. He's great.
as usual. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
so that those two would probably be the ones I would decide between. I would I guess depend on availability and things like that as well. But because I've heard a lot of interesting things about those two movies over the years, especially Bad Lieutenant, as you mentioned.
yeah. And I'm seeing that he also made the one of the many remakes of Body Snatchers, the 1993 one, and I'm pretty sure I saw that one when I was a teen. So yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, there was something in Hollywood. Every couple of years, we had to do some version of a body snatcher movie.
Yeah, yeah. There's like one every decade, I think.
Yeah, and then there's the adjacent ones that it's not body snatchers, but it is body snatchers. I was on Screen Run, and they just covered. I guess they're still in the middle of a season of body snatchers and body snatcher esque movies, and I was just over there talking about The Faculty recently from
Oh, yeah,
1998,
yeah.
which is a basically Scream meets body snatchers
Body
essentially.
Snatchers, yeah.
And it's so funny to that one specifically. It's such a time capsule of like, well, you hear the music, you see Josh Hartnett and Jordana Brewster, you're like, yeah, this is nice. This is the late '90s, all right.
Yeah. That's another one I haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah,
Okay, so we have our first three categories. I'm torn. I have like three or four that I would really want to choose from. I was actually considering the one you mentioned, a film widely considered as confusing. But one of the things I like to do with these challenges is to expand my horizons of what to watch, and I try to go foreign every now and then. So I'm
right.
gonna choose. Uh, I'm gonna go with a film from Egypt,
Cool.
and let me see where it is. Towards the end, yeah, there we go. A film from Egypt, which I know there are a lot, because I've seen that they have like a pretty wide filmography. I've seen there's a lot of action films, adventure films, and a lot of stuff like that. So maybe we can always stay in touch. I always say this to
Oh
my kids.
yeah,
We can stay in touch to see, this is available. You can watch this. I found this list. I always try to look for a
absolutely.
list of the best films from whatever country we're doing, and there's always good stuff to find. So yeah,
It's always disappointing too, because if you just simply Google a film from Egypt, it's all top picks set in Egypt, thriller, like movies set in Egypt, like Gods
nah,
of Egypt and
yeah,
Exodus, Gods and Kings, and I'm like, no, not exactly what we're looking for.
Gods of Egypt with no Egyptian actors.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we have our first four categories. We have a film with the number seven. We have number seven in its title. We have a musical. We have a film from Abel Ferrara, and we have a film from Egypt. And like I said, we have our last fifth category, which will be chosen by their randomizer. And before we head into that, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a minute, and I'm gonna let you talk a bit about what you're doing in your different podcasts while I tinker with the spreadsheet for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned that we just finished covering the Nightmare on Elm Street. We have Deadpool coming up. We have the Rocky and Creed franchise coming up after that, which will be another marathon franchise, like decades of storytelling. That's always fun. I think what's really interesting for me about going through and watching these movies is that it touches on so much of cinema history. It's like we did the X-Men films. Speaking of Deadpool, we did the X-Men films last year for the 23rd anniversary of the original movie. And it's just like such a microcosm of superhero cinema just in those films. Like we look at the 2000 film where everybody's in black leather, and then you look at like Dark Phoenix where everyone is bright colors, and it's really sort of a rise and fall of a specific subgenre in that way. And like I said, close watch. We have Tick Tick Boom coming up. I have to line up some more guests, but there's a lot of musicals on the table that I'm looking forward to getting to. And then with the Patreon series, we're doing bonus content every week. We just did a sort of an outtake from my Nightmare on Elm Street '84 episode, where my guest and I discussed the 2010 remake and why why it's fundamentally flawed. I have a crooked commentary coming up where my wife and I watched Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. So full feature length, just conversation while we're watching the movie. I recorded a Patreon exclusive episode on Once Upon a Deadpool that will go live between the release of the Deadpool 2 episode and the Deadpool and Wolverine episode. So lots of things happening. I have a Mel Brooks retrospective series happening that's going to start launching on the Crooked Table YouTube channel soon. I've recorded the producers and the 12 chairs. We're doing 13 films in all the films he's directed, as well as To Be or Not to Be, which he starred in with his wife Anne Bancroft, and the 2005 The Producers will close it out. So that's going to be interesting as well. A lot of those are going to probably be Crooked Roundtable style, so multiple guests, especially when we get to Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, the movies that everyone
Yeah.
wanted to talk about. I'll be like, well, how many of you can I fit in an episode? I'll do my best. It's a really high demand, especially since those movies both of them are celebrating what 50th years anniversary this year, I think, something like that, maybe more.
But Blazing
60.
Saddles, at least I think,
Yeah,
and
yeah. So
76.
yeah, so that lots of stuff happening, lots to follow. So I'm excited.
No, definitely looking forward to that. And like I said, we're going to include all the all the links to Robert's podcast in the episode description as soon as we get it out. So I'm going to present my screen once again. And there we go. And like I said, the final category will be chosen by the randomizer. How that works is that Robert is going to give me a random number, and we'll see what the randomizer throws at us. So, Robert, you have to give me one number from 1 to 21.
Let's do 17.
Okay, let's go with 17. And we have a film from Letterboxd official top 250 narrative feature films list whose ranking includes the number 7. So it could be number 7, number 17, 73, 73, anyone that has that ranking. And I think I sent you the link to that list
Yes.
uh, in the email. Um, let me just give I should have it up already, but let me just get a quick look to what we have um, available. Because I'm pretty sure there are going to be a lot that we've seen, but let me see. Okay, so we have, for example, number 7 is The Human Condition Part 3, which I haven't seen. Number 17 is Ran. Speaking of Kurosawa, that's a great one. That's probably my favorite from Kurosawa, but maybe not the best entry point. We have There Will Be Blood, one of the best films from the last 20, 30 years. We have Tokyo Story, great one. We have Fanny and Alexander from Ingmar Bergman. That's a blind spot for me. Perfect Blue, I haven't seen. The Ascent. 70, we have a couple: Sherlock Jr., The Pianist, Love Exposure, I'm Cuba, Separation, blah blah blah, etc. etc. We have a bunch. We have a lot to choose from.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Let's
that's
go.
our assignment for the month. We have five categories. We have a film with the number 7 in its title. We have a musical. We have a film from Abel Ferrara, a film from Egypt, and finally a film from Letterboxd official top 250 narrative feature films list, whose ranking includes the number 7. So it could be number 7, number 17, 73. Like I said, any of those that has that number. Are you up for the challenge, Robert?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, it's on. So what will happen now, like I said at the beginning, is that we will have what's left of July and a bit of August to watch 5 films to fit those criteria. And at the end of the month, me and Robert will meet again at the end of the month. Now, towards the middle of August, we'll meet again to talk about this loot of films. Robert, it was a pleasure to finally meet you and have you here, and we'll meet again in a couple of weeks.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me, Carlo. I look forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks to everybody for listening and stay tuned for our next episodes. We're still catching up a bit, but our most recent episode was our March Loot episode where me and Todd Libenau from Forgotten Filmcast talk about the films we saw in March. I also released my wife's loot where I share my thoughts on 4 films my wife loves. And we have an upcoming episode on the MCU with Stu from Stewart Order, which will come out soon, and a bunch of other episodes that I'm in the process of editing. Other than that, follow us on Twitter at TMML2021 and me personally at TFCT on both platforms. Robert, uh, can you remind people where they can follow you and find you on the internet?
Yeah, absolutely. So Twitter/X at Crooked Table, the same handle on Instagram, Threads. I'm trying to get more active on Threads and mix it up a bit there. And you can find all the episodes and everything wherever your podcasts are, as well as crookedtable.com.
Yeah, it's really hard to keep up with all the social media.
I
I
know.
yeah, I
As long
have
as
it.
you try and be as consistent as possible. You're like, this is my handle, wherever you
Yeah.
may be. I'm probably there. So good luck finding me.
I, I have an Instagram account. I barely use it. I have a. I used to be on Blue Sky a couple when when there was a threat of Twitter collapsing. I got into Blue Sky
Same.
and was pretty active, but now I haven't gotten into like I don't know months. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
but the accounts are there, so
That's right.
you
Exactly.
can look for us. Also, remember to rate and review the Movie Loot wherever you listen. That's one of the best ways to support us, and it's free. Remember to rate and review a Crooked Table podcast, Robert podcast, Franchise Detours, a close watch, Back to Bluey. Remember to rate and review his podcast. So have a good night and let's grab the loot.